best show ever.
Oh my god, I went to do the intro and choked. Literally.
You know, last show you were choking on a Luger. So that's kind of apropos that you did that. Just so you know, we just finished last show.
Yeah, we record 2 every week, so we have some in the bank. Anyway, welcome to Cranial Diarrhea. Coming to you from Area 57. I am Tiff.
And I am wondering if she's going to survive.
Yes. What we got on the agenda for today?
I think we're doing a special story today by a world-renowned reporter, Fancy Pants McGee.
She's out today. You're going to be hearing from Walmart Pants Magoo.
You're going to be hearing from Muddy George Magoo.
Oh my god.
That's pretty funny. Fancy Pants McGee in the house. Fancy, take it away.
Walmart Pants Magoo.
Dollar Tree short, Sally.
Hand-me-down drawers.
Well, this one went off the rail before it even started. It's like, here comes the train. Whoops, there it went. All right, Fancy, take it away.
Thank you, hand-me-down underwear.
Excuse me, I prefer holy drawers.
Holy drawers. Street Mark Steve.
Yeah. Well, that looks like a freight train went through there.
Street Mark. I don't know why I said that.
I don't either. That was quite a burnout. I think he left some rubber. No more tread on them tires.
Oh my god. So stupid.
I know, but it's so funny to watch it when you lose it. This is the moment. This is why I do the show, for moments where she actually loses it and can't even speak.
Why did I think that was so
funny? Because it was just from way out of left field.
Thank you, Skid Mark Steve.
I prefer a rubber burner. Wait a minute, I'm leaving some more skid marks right now. Woo! I think I got some smoke out of that one. Once again, let's start again. Fancy? Okay, over to Fancy. FP McGee, go ahead.
Thanks, douche canoe.
No worries, Fancy. Here's your one chance, Fancy. Don't let me down.
Are you high?
No. I'm just feeling rather fancy today.
Woo.
Well, aren't you just fancy? Go right ahead.
We already talked about what we're discussing.
No, we're 4 minutes in and we haven't made no progress.
Okay.
Okay, Fancy, go ahead.
My chair is too high.
Well, ain't that just fancy?
So today we're going to be talking about Willow's Weep.
What is Willow's Weep?
Well, it is a willow that weeps. No, it's not.
Isn't that a weeping willow? We're going to talk about a tree.
So,
I'm just going to rename it.
Willow's Weep is a house.
You know, weeping willows are actually like people use those. Like they'll plant those for like when the loved one passes away. That's like one of the preferred trees that people plant.
I thought
is a weeping willow.
That's interesting because down here a lot of people make their kids cut switches off the weeping willow and spank them.
That's the other good use for them. It's number 2.
Don't get a branch off of Grandma's tree.
Yeah, make sure you pick a good one. Don't make me go get it.
So Willow's Weep is actually a house in Cayuga, Indiana.
Cayuga. That's what, you know what sound a horn makes? Cayuga.
So this house is really interesting. There was a lot of information on it, but I couldn't figure out, I don't think anybody knows why it was built the way that it was.
So how was it built?
So let me get into it.
Well, I've been waiting for that for like 5 minutes and 45 seconds now, Fancy.
Suck a big fat sausage, Skid Mark Steve. All right.
Sorry, I'm a vegetarian.
It's not what I heard.
Wow. Well, that took a bad turn. I'm being all polite over here, trying to throw her the story, and
You're also like shaking the entire table.
well, my microphone is hanging by a thread.
That's the universe telling you to shut the hell up.
Okay, I'm gonna be quiet now.
It's a good thing I'm not a dude.
Yeah, then you wouldn't be my daughter.
Okay.
Oh, does that change colors, or what's that do?
It's the
I can't read it. I don't have my glasses.
the gain.
Is it like the Gain detergent, like wash your clothes? Wash cycle. Okay, back to the weeping willow tree.
In the small town of Cayuga, Indiana,
How small is it? Oh, that's not a joke. I thought we were doing that.
is an unassuming house on a quiet street.
How unassuming is it? No, not yet. Okay.
By all appearances, the lovely home named for the giant
How lovely is it? No, not yet.
named for the giant willow tree in the front yard.
How giant is it?
Would you shut the hell up?
But my microphone was green. It means go.
Okay, in hindsight, the color changing microphones may have been a bad idea.
When it says red, I can't talk. Okay. Mine's red now.
By all appearances, the lovely
It's green
home
again.
named for the giant willow tree
It's green.
in the front yard appears completely normal, even inviting. But closer scrutiny,
Scrutiny. Pronunciation is a key.
reveals some alarming details. The house is located at the center of a crossroad,
Ah, you just talked about that.
close to a river. And in both folklore and supernatural circles, both crossroad and river are seen as spiritual
Because the
places.
moving the
Often-
moving water, right? Like you referred to.
Oh, yeah, often for demons and dark spirits. And that's not the only uncanny thing about the property. From the front, the cute clapboard building seems like a great place to live. But from above, it's evident that Willow's Weep is cross-shaped and faces east. And if it wasn't clear by that alone, the entrance is located at the base, making the house an inverted cross.
Seriously?
Dead serious.
So somebody had to design it that way.
Yes. Inside, the geometry of the home is even more sinister. Though it may not be evident at first glance, the corners of adjoining rooms meet in the main living area and they form a pentagram.
No, wait a minute. Say that again now.
Okay. That's a long sentence. Inside, the geometry of the home is even more sinister.
Know that part. Never mind.
Though it may not be evident at first glance, the corners of joining rooms, like this, right,
Okay.
meet in the main living area, and it forms a pentagram.
So the rooms come to a corner instead of like a flat wall.
Yeah, so think when you come in, you have this one big room in the middle, and there are rooms off of it, but
they all come to a point.
Yes.
That's why I wanted you to reread it, because I was like,
yeah, it's odd.
that is very, very strange. When was this house built again? 1890s?
Yes. Would you like to read?
I just did. It's just really for the architecture of that time. This is a very odd build.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It was obviously done purposefully, but it's so out of character with everything else that was built.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's just so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So built in the 1890s, historians and paranormal investigators have assembled a trove of information about the history of the home, including every suspicious death and recorded haunting that has occurred in and around it. Excuse me, sorry. My burrito is coming back for vengeance.
Your burrito is leaving. I thought I was skid mark, Steve. I guess you're.
Heartburn.
Oh, I hate heartburns. Oh.
Deaths.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about this. You're getting heartburn from it.
Nope, it was the jalapenos in my burrito.
On a stick.
Very, very spicy.
Look at that. I just hit the table.
Stop doing that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's earthquake.
At least you didn't say tornado this time. So, deaths that defy normal explanations have been recorded throughout the history of the property. Poisoning, hangings, suicides. In fact, the first recorded death was of the man who built the house, Henry Sykes. He was found in his bathtub and no cause of death could be determined.
So did he live in the house? He built the house and lived in it? Or was this like...
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if this was like he was building it.
Him and his family lived in the house.
Okay.
Overall, the house has seen 7 deaths, including 3 suicides. Now, that being said, because this was last-minute research, I don't know all of the deaths and like the circumstances behind those deaths. So, just putting that out there. Multiple former residents reported hearing disembodied voices, witnessing poltergeist activity, and shadow figures. In the mid-1950s, while replacing a floorboard, residents found a crumbling book in the space between the floor and the packed dirt under the house. Upon further inspection, they saw the strange book was a grimoire.
What's that, what?
Grimoire.
What's that?
It's like a... For lack of a better way of explaining it, it's like a witch's book where they like write their spells and secrets and whatever, yeah.
So it's like a memoir, but for witches.
But it's grim.
But it's grim. Yeah, I like that. Okay. You should have just said that to begin with.
It was filled with horrific images of brutality, dark incantations. The person that found it said it was no normal Wiccan book and obviously contained the owner's deepest secrets. Worse yet, according to the inscription, it belonged to a previous resident. So
that's what I was going to ask. Was this someone that lived there?
Yeah, so whoever left it, hid it, was doing some dark things.
But they don't know when the book was written.
So,
okay.
Petrified about the witch's possible return after burning the book, the occupants who found it moved out. The story stayed in the family for generations until the grandson of the woman who found it called David Spinks and told him the tale. So, paranormal investigator David Spinks is the current owner. Okay? He has proposed that not only does it contain darkness, but could be the evilest house ever built. Because of this, Sparks believes it was possibly created to contain evil, and the ghastly deaths weren't natural and point to a dark influence.
So, wait a minute.
But I think we take everything that he is saying with a grain of salt because of his profession.
Right.
It's very easy to take something like this, especially the way that the house is built, and this person to come in and say all of these things are happening, and I think this house is full of demons and whatever, to get some notoriety. Now, I'm not saying that's the case.
Right.
But I am saying that is a possibility here.
But I guess the thing that still sticks out to me is the way it was built and constructed. I have to wonder, was that book, and this is just the question that came to my mind, was that book like from the person that built the house?
I don't think so.
Why would they build a house like that?
I think that if the book belonged to the person that built the house, that would have been specified in the information, and it wasn't. It just says a previous resident.
But what would influence, or I just don't understand how the house was built.
Do you want to see a picture?
Do you have a picture? Yes, I would love to see a picture. I guess my thing, because when you're looking at like the picture. I still just don't understand because that wasn't the architecture style of the time period. And I'm just wondering because, it has to be, somebody had to draw out the schematics to the house, is what I'm saying. Wouldn't you realize that when you're looking at the schematics? Or wouldn't you at least say, hey, this is really strange. This is different. That's why I'm wondering if the book actually belonged to the builder.
I don't, like I said, it doesn't mention that the book belonged to the builder, it just says a previous resident. But you have to think, the way that house is shaped, right? That's going to attract someone that's into the occult and things like that. Because of the shape of the house, they're going to say, hey, this is perfect. I'm going to do all of my things here.
But the thing is, and I'm going to go back to this, in the 1800s, society wasn't like it is today where people are everywhere. Right. There was spaces, right?
Right.
So I'm just wondering if the individual that built it had some kind of connection to the occult or something. That would be
very possible. And, I don't think that it was that the occult was really looked down upon during that time like it was prior or after.
Right. It's just really strange that someone would choose to build a house that it had to be on purpose. There's no way you could accidentally build a house that looks like an upside down cross and the rooms come into a pentagram.
Yeah. For some reason, something had to have. There was a reason behind that, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know what that was. Like I said, I couldn't find a lot about the reasoning or the architecture from the builder's perspective. So.
But back even in that time, would they really have wanted that type of knowledge out? I guess. I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
And back then, back then too, it wasn't really readily available. And like, if you're looking at it from you can't. Back then, there was no way to look at it from an aerial point of view, right?
Well, there was. Back then we did have trees back then, and I could climb up in a tree and see the house.
Right, but what I'm saying is, unless you came onto my property,
right,
you would not know.
You really wouldn't know. I do remember,
it.
But I do remember back in those days, I did have to travel a while by horse and buggy to go to the store. So I may have passed your house, doing that. We didn't have air conditioning back in the day, so maybe it was like they thought they were building a wind tunnel or something, open a window.
That's a weird wind tunnel.
But we really didn't even know the concept of wind tunnels back in that day.
Yeah. So before...
I do remember we used to put our horses in a barn when we could afford to build the barn. Otherwise, we'd put them like in the room next to us and let them sleep inside when it was wintertime. And then putting those chains on those buggy tires, that was a chore. You had to take down your fence to make change for your buggy tires. Then you had to put the fence back up when you got home so none of the animals would get out. While you were gone, they wouldn't try to leave. They'd just stand there. They knew better.
You let me know when you're done.
I'm done.
Okay. So, before David Spinks came to own the house, it was the property of Brenda Johnson. She planned on renovating and selling the property onward, so it was kind of like a flip situation. She didn't believe in the supernatural, so buying a haunted house wasn't a big deal. And in the early days, she says there were no issues. Over time, though, the strange things began to occur. At first, she assumed it was like old house stuff, like creaking and...
Right, just like a house settling or whatever.
But then, like, other things started to happen, like doors swinging on their hinges or slamming, banging from underneath the floor. And initially she attributed the banging to like rotten pipes and things like that. But then the banging started coming from the walls, ceilings, everywhere. I'm sorry, this is freaking me out a little bit. I thought I heard steps coming up the stairs.
I was like, what did you just do?
So I just locked the door.
Okay, so wait a minute, time out. So let's think about this. We're sitting here in Studio 57 She hears footsteps coming up the door. So she locks the door like that's going to stop. I mean, I don't know that a spirit's ever said, hey, that door's locked. I can't go in there.
I just feel a little, I don't know, I feel a little weird
I
right
need to
now.
get me one of those remote controls. Like I'd be sitting here and just like kill the lights or something.
Honestly, I feel a little scared right now.
Really?
Yeah,
So I don't feel anything.
I feel a little scared right now.
Maybe we should stop this story.
No, I mean, we got a long way to
Boo!
go.
Did I scare you?
No. So,
I hear
the banging
footsteps.
started coming from the walls, ceilings, everywhere, and then people started to get hurt.
And then you
So-
hear Johnny's back.
You mean here's Johnny?
No, I mean Johnny's back because I don't want to get copyrighted.
So she was experiencing depression. She says that her son was attempting to repair the ceiling, and then the boards from the ceiling flew off by themselves, striking her and her son. She said the home actively interfered with improvements.
So, let me get this straight. They're repairing the ceiling, and the boards just start flying. Hadn't you heard of a nail?
Yeah. Well, around the same time as she had bought the house, she hired a maintenance man, and so the guy was outside mowing his yard, or mowing her yard, rather.
Sorry, I didn't mean for that to be that noisy.
The guy was outside mowing her lawn, and Deborah heard a scream from outside, so she rushed outside to investigate, found the man crumpled against the wall of the house unconscious. After being rushed to the emergency room, it was discovered that his spine had been nearly fractured in several places. He couldn't remember what happened, but she suspected that he didn't heed her warning and got too close to the willow tree. So the tree is rumored to contain the spirits of vengeful dead or demons, and after her son's accident and her own attack and this guy, she began to pay attention to the stories that she had previously ignored.
So, how are you supposed to mow the grass near the willow tree then?
I guess you don't.
But then wouldn't the grass grow up over the willow tree?
Not my problem.
Here's an idea. Burn it down.
Upon discharge from the hospital and some recuperation, the handyman said he felt well enough to finish the work he was contracted to perform, including checking under the house to verify if any of the strange banging actually was being caused by pipes.
Not happening.
So in order to access the plumbing, he had to go through the entrance of the exterior access hatch and crawl on his belly. But once under the house, he discovered that this was obviously easier said than done. Where there should have been packed dirt, there were mounds of varying size. So he initially assumed that it was the work of groundhogs or rodents or mold, whatever. So he began to push them aside and clear a path so he could get through. And then while clearing the path, he found a human bone. So he wanted to assume that it was from like a long buried pet, or maybe like livestock that had gotten under the house and died, whatever. But he says he couldn't maintain that belief for long. Out of the darkness came hands he couldn't see or touch, pulling at him and trying to drag him down. So he struggles his way back out, walks into the house, throws the bone at Deborah, and declared that he would, number one, never go under the house again, and number two, if she had any other problems, she was to find another contractor because he out.
I don't blame him.
He gone.
I'm gone.
Yeah, he gone. So Deborah sensed that the bone might be related to the accidents. She brought it to a local physician. The doctor quickly identified it as the intact humerus of an older child long dead. Law enforcement was called, but because the bone was over 50 years old, the police declined to investigate. Johnson did some research and called David Spinks. Spinks' first introduction to Willow's Weep was through his work as a paranormal investigator. After Johnson determined that there was nothing that she could do to change the house and not wanting her family to become a part of Willow's Weep's legacy, she sold the house to him. So there are other oddities in the home. For example, you can't get to the attic from inside the house. You have to get a ladder and enter through an outside window to get to the attic.
To go to the attic?
And Deborah does claim to have seen some actual ghosts during her time in the home, but there's not any, I didn't get any documentation on that. Adam Baird and Haley Navarre lived in Willow's Wheat before Miss Johnson. Adam and Haley's mother, Cheryl Skinner, suffered a heart attack while living there in 2001. Several years later, their stepfather, Kurt Skinner, committed suicide in the home. Adam does insist that his family does not haunt the house and wants investigators to leave his mother and stepfather alone. He says that although his mother did have a heart attack in the house at the young age of 42, her actual death happened at a hospital. Some speculate Cheryl Skinner may have seen something in the house that caused the heart attack. But this dude's like, hey, like, we have children, we have a family, like, we don't
right, just let them be.
Legacy,
right.
Just leave it alone.
So does anybody live in the house now?
So, oh my gosh. The current owner, David Spinks, said there is no disrespect intended to the people that have died in the house, but he will continue to investigate Willow's Weep and allow other paranormal specialists to do so as well. He says it is not just the Skinners that haunt the house, but there are many more. So he owns the house. It's unclear whether he lives in it or not, but he does allow teams to go in and investigate.
So I would say probably not at that point. It's probably like...
Yeah, so he does say a man emailed him recently and said that his grandmother used to live in the house back in the 50s, and she experienced paranormal phenomena.
Phenomena. Boom, boom, boom.
Back
Phenomena. Boom, boom, boom. Phenomena.
Dishes she would set on the table the night before, when she got up the next morning, they would be all over the floor like a tornado had gone through.
Like, just scattered everywhere?
Just like on the floor, broken.
Wow.
And then she would often witness a rocking chair in the house rocking on its own. And so this guy that owns the house, he's like, hey, there are like multiple spirits here.
Which is probably best that he's not letting anyone like live there or whatever right now. So I don't know. That's it's just so weird. I just can't get over the build.
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting part of the whole thing, right? Is the architecture.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, the actual. Okay, I get it. Somebody built a house. They didn't mean for it to look like a cross. It does, like an upside down cross or whatever. But then for the rooms to come to that pentagram, I mean, it's just...
The rooms to come to a pentagram, and then...
That's not coincidental.
It's almost... It's perfectly positioned, right? So it's at a crossroads. It's right by
the
a river.
It's not...
perfectly positioned.
That's not accidental, I don't think.
I don't think so either.
Well, thank you, Fancy Pants McGee. That was quite an interesting story.
You're welcome, Douche Canoe Dan.
Wait a minute, my name changed. I'm... Until next time, I'm Douche...
Is that for me? Thanks.
No, this is mine. You're welcome to use it at any time.
No, this is mine.
You're welcome to use it at any time. But anyway, I think that's probably the most unique story as far as with the architecture that I've heard so far, and that's pretty interesting. Somebody will come up with a contest, like if you can stay one night in this house or something. Would you do that? I wouldn't do that.
No, I would not sleep over, first of all.
And I sure wouldn't sleep under.
But he does, like, the fact that he's allowing teams in is interesting to me, and I'm wondering if he's charging.
See, I'm wondering that too. And now that you've said that, I'm kind of wondering, is all of this, I'm not saying things haven't happened in the past, but now has it been enhanced?
Right, and a lot of these stories are.
Right.
Every fairy tale, every myth, every legend, it all stems from a grain of truth.
Right. It's kind of like...
But again, because of the architecture of the house and where the house sits, you can't tell me that something's not happening.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm
You know
not
what
saying.
I mean? But are these stories coming out now and like all this stuff? Like, is it
Has it been embellished? I guess is my
right?
thing.
Right. And it's very possible, especially if we go on and we find out that dude's charging.
Right. Then that's a whole different ballgame.
Because you own the house, so it's very, very easy to fabricate these things.
Right.
Very easy.
Now, I'm not saying in the past.
And we're not saying that's the case.
No.
Right? But it is easy to do that.
The skeptic in me has to say,
yeah.
You know, and with today's technology and enhancements, there's things you could make seem that are happening and
you
appearing.
You could easily hide speakers.
Right.
To make noises. You could easily infiltrate the investigation, right? You can go under the house and beat on the floor, and you can do
there's
things.
a lot of things you could do. So,
absolutely.
So I'm not sure.
Because you live there, you set up these.
I think that's why I'm so focused on the architecture and the actual building, because that to me is the unique part.
Right.
That's the uniqueness.
It was almost like it was built for
paranormal type activity. Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to hear footsteps coming up the door.
It was built. It's almost like it was like done on purpose for occult reasons.
Right. And it could have been.
Yeah. Or maybe the guy's compass just wasn't.
Do you notice
working.
it's getting colder in here?
No, it's the same temperature.
I was trying to mess with you.
Yeah, don't.
It's getting colder.
It's getting colder.
So you're saying, like, if my head spins around 360, just don't do it.
If you throw up pea soup on me, I'm going to be hella mad.
Hello.
Big mad.
Hello there.
Damien.
Yeah, that was interesting. That's pretty much interesting. I would like a little further investigation on the actual design of the house to see if there's any background on that.
We'll get on it.
I'm not that interested.
I do think we do need to do some investigative work on the crossroads theory.
I do want to kind of, because I'd never really heard of that, so I do want to kind of dig into that and see what that's about. So
I know I don't know how accurate it is, but I know that there's a theory that there's a crossroad demon that makes deals. Like, say you're say I was sick with cancer.
Now, are we
went
talking
to a crossroad and summoned a crossroad demon? You
now, are we talking about
I'll
like
give you my soul if you save her?
Okay, so it's not like
it's not like let's
like
play
a
deals.
life. It's not like a life crossroad.
No, what?
It's like a crossroad in the street, not like you're saying you're at a crossroad in life.
Right, it's a crossroad in the street. It's like a.
So, like any crossroad.
I don't know if it's any crossroad.
That individual or entity gets around if it covers all the crossroads in the world.
I don't know if it's just one. There might be like a whole
division of crossroads.
Department.
Welcome to the Department of Crossroads. Press 1.
I don't know.
Press 1.
That's why I think we need to do some investigating. We need to do some researching.
Press 1 if you would like to turn right. Press 2 if you want to go straight across. Press 3 if you would like to go left. Press 4 for an operator.
Sell your soul to Satan.
Yeah. Press 4 if you would like to speak to an operator. Please hold. Hey, right now we have a 2-for-1 sale on fire suits.
Oh, you messed it up because it would be like, for English, press 1.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting on the phone for 30 minutes going, representative.
If you know the extension of your demon at this point.
Representative. I just want to talk to someone. Oh my God.
Please dial your extension now.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's... how do we always get off on some stupid rant? You ever notice that?
Yeah. I told you, nothing normal happens up here.
You must have got that naturally.
It's broken.
It's all works though. That's what makes it fun.
Listen though, I did get Angela a bunch of like resin molds and stuff, and I got her a skull mold. And I said if we could just find like a poop charm, you could put it in the skull and do a clear skull where it's just a skull with poop in the head. We could use it for our show.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know where you were going with that. I was just going to say we could name it.
No,
Anyway.
we could use it for our show, you know, like we're supposed to be using feckless and it still hasn't been hung.
It'll get there eventually.
I want you to go get feckless.
It'll get there eventually.
It won't. Feckless is not.
Why is it so spicy?
Why is it spicy?
Please dial your extension now.
Representative!
I'm sorry, we could not understand. Please dial.
Representative!
We are sorry. Your call will now be disconnected.
Puts you in a hold and it's like Highway to Hell or something. But like the piano version.
Yeah. The Tony Bennett version.
Like Barry Manilow singing the lyrics.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're on a highway. Yes, going down the byway. I'm done.
Okay.
Till next time, do something.